Welcome to the Gynergy Effect, where energy meets intention and transformation begins.
We're your hosts, Garin and Yesi, partners in life, love, and purpose.
Here to share the tools, truth, and stories that helped us build a life from the inside out.
Whether you're seeking deeper health, conscious relationships, or your next level of purpose,
you're in the right place.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gynergy Effect. Today we're joined by Dr. Sasha Banjac, physicist, inventor, entrepreneur, and founder and CEO of Royanis. Sasha has a gift for turning early-stage ideas into real-world solutions. He blends deep scientific training with practical product development, building technologies that help companies work smarter, scale better, and unlock the power of predictive analytics. But behind the innovation is a story, one of resilience, curiosity, and a lifelong commitment to solving problems that actually matter. Welcome, Sasha. Grateful to have you.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know there's, just from our conversation that we had just right before the start of this is going to be a great podcast. There's going to be some depth that we dive into, some really cool innovation that we talk about, and just really about who you are as a human being and what inspired this journey and the way that you look at the world. So I'm excited to set the tone that way and make everybody really inspired today. I think that's going to resonate.
Yeah, I'm excited too to be here. I know we met only briefly at an event a couple of weeks ago, but I liked your energy. I like what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I always enjoy deep conversations, and the little knowledge and wisdom that I have, I'm more than happy to share. So thanks for having me again.
That's the gift that we have to give. That's beautiful.
We'd love to start off by your childhood, your story. I know you've had an incredible journey from pre-war, Yugoslavia war, to becoming a refugee, to losing some of your family members, and even almost losing your own life. So we'd love to hear more about what that part of your life was like and how it inspired to where you are today.
Yeah, in a way, I consider that that's actually the biggest gift I was given.
Yeah.
I was given an environment to that helped me come close to achieving my potential. That's what I would call it. There's a very interesting twist of being born in a pretty affluent family. My grandfather was the CEO of a very large weapons manufacturing industry company. And in that family, I was given perspective and ambition. And everything was set for a very easy life, especially in communism, might be some corruption and connections, make it easier for you. Yeah. But then at age 3 or 4, all of it disappeared. We had a bloody civil war. I escaped with my mother to Greece. I never had a father, so that foundation that was meant to give me an easy start in life disappeared, and yet still the ambitions and the perspectives were transferred from my family down to me. So 92, the war broke out. My first memories are actually leaving my hometown. I remember people putting in a cage door to prevent from looting the apartments. Yeah. And that's literally the first memory that I have in my life. Wow. Through some connections, we ended up being lucky to escape the war on a military aircraft. But I remember traveling with my uncle in this aircraft, surrounded by wounded soldiers that were bleeding with lost arms and hands. And witnessing that as a 4-year-old kind of creates barriers, protecting barriers that give you resilience. And everything that followed was the 3 years that I lived in Greece with my mother. Just gave me so much opportunity to get tested, to find a way. I came very often close to dying. But later on, this ended up being kind of like my biggest strength. After returning home, like you've mentioned, in 96, after the war, I came back to the safety of my grandmother, practically the woman that played the most important role in my life. And a bunch of illness-related events led to my mother dying, my grandfather dying. I had an injury where I fell from about 30 feet onto concrete and really hurt my head. It's surprising I didn't have lasting brain damage from it.
That all happened around the same time?
This happened around the year 2000, so I was at that time 12 to 13 years old.
So it's like the story where the kid falls and breaks his arm, then he becomes a pitcher that can throw 100 miles an hour. Like unlocks something in your brain that, I mean, because you're almost you're like a genius over here. So.
Well, I don't know if I can go that far, but in any case, I spent almost 3 months in recovery, especially with my hand. Everything was good with my head, although later I did notice that I kind of lost the ability to memorize stuff. For example, I cannot memorize a movie. We did briefly mention Idiocracy before this. I watched the Idiocracy at least 8 times, but I don't really remember scenes from it. And like even some of my favorite movies, I know that I like them, but I don't have the capability to memorize what happens in the movies. So there was some consequences. It didn't impact my raw problem-solving ability. So
30 feet's a long ways. How'd you fall? You know, I'm sure everybody's interested. How'd you fall 30 feet?
The honest truth is, like, I don't remember completely, but I remember that I tried to build a house on that tree.
Oh, you're up on a tree.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I have a huge scar on my head here because I had internal hemorrhage and they wanted to stop that. So even worse, I ended up hitting concrete. So that was quite an impact.
You're resilient.
Yeah, but that's just the start, you know. After my mother and my grandfather dying, we were in a difficult financial position. And as a 13-year-old kid that had some exposure to PCs, I really wanted to have a PC.
Yeah.
So I ended up working in a factory over the summer for like 11 hours a day, 6 days a week, and made half of the money that I needed to buy a PC.
Yeah.
And my uncle pitched in the other half.
Wow.
So
This was around 14 years old?
13 years, yeah.
Wow.
So 13 years old, I got my first PC, and I probably didn't see any sunlight over the next year because in a year I kind of like became an expert for all things.
Yeah, you just dove in, became obsessed.
Yep. Yeah. I remember back then in Bosnia, we were paying for internet by the hour. It was about $2 by the hour, which doesn't sound too expensive unless you consider that my grandmother's monthly income was $150.
Right.
So
and you're on that thing constant.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, I found ways to earn money.
Yeah.
My uncle brought to me the idea to always think about the psychology of the buyer, like what's the value of a solution.
Right.
And then I had the strategy of trying to package something that I retain like 1/3 of the value that I create, you know, and that was pretty successful. So between age 14 and 18, I ended up creating a really good brand as somebody who can, in the tech space, pretty much solve any issue.
Wow, there's a lot there. I mean, we just went through a whole journey of like your formational years, and it wasn't one that was expected. It was one that was filled with, you know, some adversity that you said ended up being one of the biggest blessings and strengths that drove you to who you are today. What do you think the difference is, let's say, if you would have lived a life of leisure and luxury versus who you are today because of the adversity that you went through?
I thought about it a lot. After finishing high school, I ended up I dropped computer science because I was bored with it.
Yeah.
And I ended up going into physics because I thought physics is the biggest challenge.
Yeah.
So at the university in Kiel in Germany, I was surrounded by brilliant people. And I guess I was better at getting it done and figuring out what it takes because of that life experience that I had. And most of my colleagues, like I had some guys that were really extremely good with numbers or comparable. But, my math skills were supported by a whole foundation of general experience and some perspectives about psychology and economics and business. So I always felt empowered because of this. I also remember my uncle telling me that the personnel in the high school were afraid to punish him because of his father, and that he was kind of like super spoiled. And I think that would eventually have been me. So I don't believe that a life of ease would have yielded anywhere close to what I actually am today, which is crazy. So the life of struggle, in a way, is a blessing from my perspective. Now, the other side of the coin is that not everybody gets to survive that. I got through my crazy teen years so many times close to dying for doing really dumb stuff.
Sounds like Garin too.
So thankfully, all those catastrophes were narrowly avoided. And I am here where I am today.
What are some of those lessons, specifically that you've applied forward into the now? What are some of the biggest takeaways from that childhood, from seeing, the war, the Civil War, having to flee, the family adversity that you've been through? Where do you think that shows up in today for you?
I don't take things for granted, and I guess the other part is that I've learned to appreciate life through a perspective that doesn't so much focus on the monetary aspects. Don't get me wrong, I like making deals and doing business, but it's not what drives me. I don't get up purely thinking about, adding another digit to the bank account. I actually think about how can I apply what I have and can on achieving meaningful improvements. And this can sometimes be something in the domain of professional lives of other people, or in a medical device product, or in general some other benefit that ends up making it a little bit easier for somebody else. So I guess those are the two biggest takeaways. Don't take things for granted, and figure out a way to find fulfillment through meaningful pursuits.
That's powerful. So it sounds like going through those hardships and overcoming the adversity gave you a deeper sense of gratitude and purpose in your life, and also to really figure out what is the deeper why. And it sounds like that why, and we'd love for you to elaborate on what is that deeper why. Is it like solving problems, right? What drives that why? What is your why?
It's a very deep question, and I'm not always sure that I understand it myself. In a way, I feel like a deep desire to also validate myself, But on the other hand, I know that without working on meaningful topics, I feel unhappy. So some might say that this is some sort of a disorder, but I've seen it in many successful minds, and I enjoy it. So I enjoy waking up and bothering myself about important topics I'm currently working on, And if I have nothing to worry or think
Yeah.
about, I kind of don't feel happy,
Yeah.
if it makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I guess one thing I completely missed when I was answering your past question, especially witnessing my grandfather passing away and my mother, and then looking at my grandmother, and she had such a tremendous resilience. Early on, we found out that she has cancer, and people thought she's going to die within a couple of months. But she was so driven to be there for me and my uncle that she ended up living 20 plus years after.
Wow. That's incredible.
And I guess that's the last lesson I've been learning about, is to appreciate health, appreciate your body. And especially in this year, I've done a lot to be better in that domain.
Yeah.
And I absolutely plan on continuing to do so, because health is another thing we shouldn't take for granted.
I completely agree. And what would you say are some of the practices that you have implemented when it comes to prioritizing your health? I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with having like a balance between business and health.
Yeah, well, in my case, there's a little bit of a duality of looking at it. Being a physicist, you look at data, pretty much everything. So like this thing monitors pretty much all the time what's happening, at least from some high level perspective. So I've been observing through data how meaningful changes manifest themselves in some of these KPIs we're interested in. I've realized that I'm just not keeping my body fit, and then did a lot of reading to understand the underlying processes that play a role. For me, the really, really big change was implementing walking in my daily life. And as an entrepreneur, we typically always struggle with lack of time. So I gave a lot of effort to make that walking as productive as possible. Sometimes the productiveness comes from achieving some sort of mindfulness. So it doesn't always mean that you end up listening to a informative podcast about AI. Sometimes it's actually listening to music and just going all in. But it allowed me to, I think my average daily miles are above 10 miles for the whole 2025. So we're speaking of about 3,000 miles walked. And I spent that time either listening to relevant audiobooks, or I've created some practical tools to interact with AI agents on current topics in the AI space. My PA helped me be productive by helping me process emails during walks. That was super useful. And then I did use a large part of that time to maintain connections with my friends, especially as somebody who's lived in many countries. You end up having friends all over the world. So WhatsApp and FaceTime is pretty much how you maintain some of those.
I love that. It's like sometimes I feel like people tend to overcomplicate how to find that balance, but simple things like you mentioned, like going on walks, listening to music, and habit stacking some of those. Well, I'm going on a walk, I might as well also catch up with some friends. So I love that. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can be something simple, going down to the basics and also adding on to those things. And
and in San Diego, we were blessed with this amazing nature and weather. I've now did pretty much all the hikes that you can do in San Diego.
Which one's your favorite?
My favorite is the Mount El Cajon hike, which takes about, if you're really fit, takes about 4 hours.
Oh, wow. You have to try that one.
And it's in total 4,000 feet of elevation gain and 12 miles. So
it's a good hike.
you need to take about a gallon of water.
Okay, this is it's not like a beginner's hike.
No, but my dog can do it. So,
okay.
Yeah. And I did that hike twice in a row. I'm kind of proud of it. So it's 8.5 hours of walking. And we really have a lot of open spaces to enjoy. So it's not just a treadmill, even
Yeah.
though when the weather is not great or when I don't have as much time, I actually do use a treadmill as well. But we have such a wonderful nature here and so many opportunities. Like within half an hour, there's 30 wonderful walking
I
destinations.
agree. Yeah, we're so blessed to live in a city where we can just walk outside and have opportunities to be healthy. Just so blessed with the good weather, the hiking, we have swimming, we have so many different activities and sports that we can do in this city. It's a blessing.
Yeah, so we're talking about, and you brought up a little bit about AI and how you're utilizing that in your life currently, and I know a lot of your work involves AI. I'd love to hear a little bit because I enjoyed our conversation just about where we see the future of AI, especially since you have children. I know that's something that's important to you is from a just that holistic view there, but also how you're implementing it into your life and your business, utilizing it to to leverage maybe resources and those aspects. I'd love to hear more about that from you.
The dominant feeling I live with is that I need to do more to understand it.
Right.
So I would say on average, I invest about 3 hours a day into just trying to understand what's happening. And I specifically chose the word trying because so much is happening that
So quickly.
It's so fast, right?
it's really, really
It's like trying to
crazy.
drink from a fire hose.
Yeah. So it's a buzzword. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made some observations that, at least for me, hold some value. It's a little bit of a fallacy to claim that you understand. You're like an AI expert for everything. So I think I'm down to earth in that I know that the elements were myself and the team that I lead are really good, are related mostly to data and pattern recognition, and then automating stuff. And that's there's been a big shift in our ability to automate stuff because a few years ago, all the automation was basically some integrations. You would integrate systems together and create complex rules, like kind of like if then else.
Yeah.
And now we can take specific knowledge that used to take a human and analyze the patterns that a human would perform to make a decision, and then turn that into a reasoning agent that takes in the inputs and does what a human would typically do. And that's really such a powerful extension of the capability that we have with the technology, that it's gonna have enormous impacts on our lives. What we're seeing currently looks chaotic, but the reality is that I don't believe that 10 or 20% of business processes have really been enhanced with AI yet.
Yeah.
And everything that's working is a year behind of what's possible. So it's really, really crazy. If you think about it, we know that from many of the publications you encounter in journals, we know that even something as complex as analyzing medical imagery is replaceable with an agent. And that sets the tone. So practically, as long as we have enough data, you can achieve even something for which a capable human needs 15 to 20 years. Now, the reality is that we don't have those amounts of data everywhere, but most companies do contain this asset in one form or another. If an email came into an inbox and an accountant went and seen and analyzed what this email is about and then put it into a folder, there's typically a trace behind it somewhere that the email was moved into folder, accounts payables or scam or whatever. So we can leverage those data assets and then try to implement a reasoning agent that does the work. And the other side of this coin is, okay, what happens now with the freed up resources? Can you let that person work on more complex issues that your systems can't? Can you grow your business because now you have more resources about it? And also potentially, does this allow you to enhance the performance of the employee in different aspects? So monumental shifts are happening because this isn't something that just covers, for example, the cost domain of a business. It also covers all the relationships with the clients, and then ties in to potentially all of your data. And in addition to figuring out what the technology has to do, there's the other side of the coin of having a need to do a lot of change management. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're excited when we get to in the domains where we have high expertise, support companies. But one advice that I would give to entrepreneurs is actually look for the experts that are experts for that specific area to help you out. And I don't believe anyone is an expert that covers all.
Yeah. So there's no general expertise because the depth in individual categories goes so deep that you really have to if you have a need or a desire to be filled, find the person that's able to really dive in deep and have that connectivity to it.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah. In essence, this is the classical term. We have generalists that know a little bit about everything.
Right.
I would say I am a generalist, but I'm peculiar that I have a very deep knowledge about many domains.
Right.
So that's kind of like my superpower, and I end up being able to translate very efficiently between business goals and and technology opportunities and capabilities. But still, for example, in the domain of computer vision, I know enough to be conversational with an expert.
Yeah. And
I will admit that I'm not the absolute expert for computer vision. Yeah. And roughly speaking, in the AI space, you have generative AI, you have computer vision related stuff, and then you have pattern recognition, and finally agentic workflows.
Yeah.
So first step for me would be to analyze in which of those domains lie the lowest hanging fruit for a particular business, and then seek out expertise that's actually relevant for that particular domain.
Yeah, because everybody's needs may be a little bit different as far as where it lies.
Everybody's needs are different.
Right.
I'm deeply passionate about finding optimal solutions. So, but what's optimum? It's optimum always depends on the individual goals that you have. If I'm driving to LA, I might be interested into cutting the total price of the journey, or I might be looking at achieving the journey in the shortest possible time.
Yeah.
Or I might be trying to escape ICE checkpoints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and you might think, hey, a motorcycle is going to do that, but then you're taking 3 people with you, and you can't take a motorcycle. So there's different vehicles depending on what the needs are as well.
Yeah. Or you want to take as many photos along the coast, so you don't really care about
time.
Yeah.
More care about.
So optimum always has a peculiar set of boundary conditions. That's the word physicists use. And in essence, every successful business sort of has its niche.
Yeah.
And the fact that most businesses with a niche have almost definitely need to have their own boundary conditions against which they need to optimize. So.
Yeah, I love AI. I spend a lot of my time, diving into it. And I've learned I'm developing a platform right now, and just learning how to, put all those pieces together and, use the best practices. but it's like there's so much that's evolving at all times, and it's almost impossible to keep up with unless, what I love about what you said is earlier when we were talking is that childlike curiosity. Because a lot of people, when they get to a certain point, and I notice this about people that have been maybe they're in the engineering, maybe they're building different aspects, they've done it for a long time, and they just know their way. And they're stuck kind of in their way using the tools that have been developed over time and that they're comfortable with. And there's so much that's coming out constantly that gives you leverage. Leverages your abilities, leverages your time, leverages your economics. And it sounds like you're constantly educating yourself with that childlike curiosity and wonder to continue to grow through it. And what are some of the things with AI that you're most excited about that you think is going to create the biggest impacts?
That's a tough question. I'm in general extremely lazy about stuff that I hate doing. So that's practically what I care the most. How do I avoid work that I don't enjoy?
Yeah. I think all of us like that.
And I will absolutely admit I'm a victim of my own biases for tools. Yeah. So for example, as a tech person, physicist, I grew up working in a terminal, so mostly a keyboard interface. And my favorite way to work with code are command-based agents for coding. So there's IDEs like Cursor, and now I think Google launched today the anti-gravity.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
which is another interesting topic. Like, what happens with Cursor if this ends up working well? Completely different topic, but shows how easy it is to lose.
And Cursor is built on top of a different platform, and I'm trying to remember because I just started using the one that they're actually built on top.
They use models from either Anthropic or
the models, but even they're like a layer on top of. And I just started using this other platform. I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's really good. I like it better than Cursor so far.
And this is a wonderful example. Like, we kind of still tend to look for familiarity, but then again, what I'm trying to do is always do this checking. Is this saving me time?
Yeah.
How often does it mess up?
Yeah.
And what do I do to leverage it in a way to not have it mess up?
Yeah, to mitigate that.
And I would say, because now I've been active for quite a long time, my productivity increased by a factor of 20.
Yeah.
So today I took a piece of complex backend service for doing some really complex GPS data calculations. Yeah. And I've translated the program from Python to C++ in 40 minutes. Passed all the tests, works perfectly, achieves like 400% higher speed. And I'll admit that even though I have more than 10,000 hours in Python and a couple of thousand hours with C and C++, it would have taken me probably like 20 days to do this 10 years ago. And that's freaking crazy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's what I'm most excited about. I was always passionate about figuring out what the solution is, and I was extremely bored about the implementation journey from an idea towards a working prototype. Right. And that has shortened itself so much that I'm now sort of in a position where I can on my own do a whole big project because of the tools that are made available.
So what tools are you using? So if you're using Cursor, are you using, you mentioned Anthropic, are you using Opus? And
we actually testing a lot of the models against each other.
Yeah.
And with every new release, the best model changes. So,
it does, yeah.
So the way I work is, use the model I identify as the best one. And then when a new one comes out, I already have a standardized test to see what it's going to do.
Yeah, and each one kind of has its own unique maybe superpower as well, like depending on what it is that you desire to create with it.
Yeah. You can also pit them against each other. So
Yeah.
that's an interesting concept.
I do that.
But it already has a profound impact on the outsourced software development world. And I'm super excited to see what happens. I think there's going to be winners, people who end up figuring out how to transition and adjust to the new tool set. There's definitely going to be losers.
Yeah.
This isn't something by itself new. We went through these cycles before.
Yeah.
It's just that with AI, we have a single piece of technology that in parallel attacks all jobs that have an intellectual component, And if you perceive jobs as a intellectual, a social, and a physical component, with the physical component, we're speaking of manual labor. There's nothing in the physical world that at the same time attacks all physical jobs, because the optimum of a physical labor solution is a robot that does only one thing, like, for example, places doors on a car and nothing else.
Yeah.
And that one robot can do like 1,000 doors a day. But because we have so many different activities in the physical world, it's unreasonable to expect that we're going to have robots for every single activity. So the physical part of the world is kind of like safe. But at the same time, with for example, generative text LLMs, everything that's text production gets endangered, like lawyers, different auditors and whatever. All of it gets at the same time attacked. And even the interpersonal element is kind of getting blurry, because if you've seen all the developments with the different avatars and then the early studies on empathy perception with MDs, you're like, wow, okay, humans are empathetic, but do we really try to be empathetic when we deal with other people? Because I don't know if you've seen the studies that concluded that even the earlier versions of ChatGPT were perceived as more empathetic than doctors.
Well, there was an insurance company that had all their customer service. They did a comparison to their live people versus AI interacting, and the AI agents that were solving the problems for the people when they're calling in. Insurance is when you're dealing with some of the, you're in a panic or state of stress. They scored higher with the AI agents than it did from an empathy standpoint, from the overall customer satisfaction, than it did from human beings. So I thought that was a really interesting study, because a lot of times, like, we don't even like interacting too much when we know it's a recording, but now it's starting to get to a place in certain elements that are indistinguishable, and then you're actually getting better results from AIs.
Yeah, so the way I see it, analyzing like that interpersonal relation, if the task you're performing depends on an established relationship, then AI ends up failing. But if it's something where you don't care whether the other person's a stranger or not, then it can be very successful.
Right.
For example, in sales, especially in services sales, most of the sales happens because of established relationships and friendships. And that's something you can't really replace with AI. But if you're a customer service agent who you want to speak to because you have an acute issue and you don't care who's on the other side as long as they can help you, then you really have a case where AI ends up being extremely powerful.
Yeah, and eventually it may be too where your whole interaction is with AI from the beginning of the sales cycle, and at that point you're developing a relationship with Johnny AI that ends up replacing the actual salesperson too, and you're getting the information that's available when you need to, because Johnny AI doesn't need to sleep, doesn't take breaks, doesn't have family emergencies, doesn't, so it's going to be interesting how maybe some of those personal relationships too. I mean, you just saw like some guy got married to an AI, and then the company shut down. So, that was shut down and he lost his wife, but that's
so interesting.
Yeah. And the amount of relationships that we're creating with, ChatGPT was probably the first one for many people to be exposed to. And, it just, the scary thing about it also is it's really programmed to be more agreeable with you. So, depending on what you're giving it, the information, your perspective on it, it's going to more reaffirm what your perspective is. And there's ways that you can condition it to not do that. But for the most part, people don't understand that. And it just continues to reaffirm. I had to really be mindful and really develop strict guidelines for it to, not just agree with me. I continue to have to tell, especially on the, when we're developing out the platform side with even Anthropic, with Opus, and with all the, Chat GPT 5 and the code element of it. Like because I built like 10 different platforms, and I continue to start over and then reaffirm and re-engineer it. But what I've learned is it will, if I don't position it properly, like what my prompts are, it just will agree with what I'm saying because it doesn't want to either do the work, which is really interesting. Like it becomes lazy after a certain point, or two, it just wants to reaffirm what my position is and the usefulness of what we're building, and that it's actually doing something that maybe it's not. And so you got to continue to dive in and deep. What are some of the best practices that you found with, to avoid some of that?
It's it keeps getting tougher, actually. That's the interesting part. Yeah. But everything you said, I agree. It's a tool we need to be careful about how to leverage.
Yeah.
And I'd be highly interested to see you having a conversation with a therapist, because I'm certain this isn't infrequent that people end up falling in love or stuff like that.
It's happening more and more.
Yeah. So that's something I'm worried about. Perhaps worried isn't the world's going to evolve the way it's going to evolve. But curious about what's going to happen.
Yeah, I definitely used ChatGPT yesterday to help me process some heavy emotions. So
yeah,
and
sometimes
it was actually very useful.
Yeah, and everybody has like topics we don't want to share. But if you're sharing to a machine, you don't care. So you kind of like have the safety guaranteed,
Yeah, with
the safety guaranteed until all that information is not confidential.
Yeah. It's with that.
that's the scary part.
Where do you see that?
Then you have a written record of all your deepest thoughts.
Where do you see AI going in the next 10 years? And how should people be thinking about AI? Should they be thinking about it with, and there's a lot of mixed feelings of like fear, opportunity, or both?
I don't know anybody can really answer that with a lot of reliability. I would say we have to look at the kids and observe how they're using it, like teenagers, because in the next 10 years, this is going to mature and it's going to be practically, they're going to set the tone of what the technology means for the world. I am not paranoid, but I'm worried. So there's a lot of smart people who want this to happen and to create value. And I think those forces will lead us to a new equilibrium at the end of the day. And this is related also to, job and social security and everything else, because it's in no one's interest to have dramatic changes in the society. And I think the society has, to some degree, learned to adjust to maintain itself. So we'll see.
It's going to be...
And privacy does play a big role. You mentioned it. I've listened to an interview with the CEO of Palantir, and he made this comment about sacrificing privacy for being competitive against China. And that absolutely kind of like is a big topic.
That's a scary topic.
Because in AI, you become better with more data. And if you have two competitors, of which one has infinite access to any kind of a data element, and the other one has restricted access, then it becomes almost impossible to compete. So one prediction is that we'll probably sacrifice the notions of privacy for the interest of security. I'm quite certain that has to happen within this presidential term, I would say.
That brings you back to 9/11. It brings you back to everything that was implemented after that in the name of, security. Sometimes you lose your liberty and your freedom for that perception of security, because who's to say that all that data and all that information is better off being in the hands of AI or the people that have control over the AI versus having a different power that has that but doesn't have information access to our information in that same way. So, that becomes a question, is like, how much willingness should we just have to hand that over and not keep any of that independence? Because part of the pursuit of liberty and freedom is that you have to be willing to, be uncomfortable or fight for different freedoms, or like that's been the basis of our foundation as a country from the beginning. So that's an interesting thing to just maybe expect or think that it should just be handed over like that for the sake of competition versus China, because there's been so many circumstances where stuff's been utilized improperly against us by our own government. And then you have private company like Palantir that has so much power already. Like, they literally are creating, a full monitoring of people, individuals. I mean, they have access and control over a lot. So that's one thing that's really interesting to me, and that's a part of AI that kind of keeps me up, is you're going to really have a few people or a few entities that have a huge control over so much data and information and ability to influence. I mean, you see, they're always doing psychological warfare all the time against our, us as citizens, as people.
But that's also done for the purpose of selling stuff.
Right, 100%. So that's where it stemmed from. That's where it came from.
I don't believe it's avoidable. That's the reality we live in, and it's just what we have to accept.
Unless we don't want to have an iPhone, unless we don't want to have, constant access to a wireless router and internet, and we want to live off grid, and
we very much enjoy the technology.
Yep.
And I think pretty much all of us kind of started accepting that giving up our privacy is
part of that.
Okay. Yeah.
So for someone who's
submitting to that.
Yeah, for someone who's listening, and I know we covered a lot, who may be feeling a little overwhelmed with, all the information, AI, what's one small step they can take today to become more AI literate and to kind of get ahead of the game?
I guess I'm typically concerned with more technical topics, so perhaps not the right person to be asked that question. I would say for most people, this is eventually gonna happen through some sort of influencers.
Yeah.
So if I was somebody who isn't deeply technically involved with it, I would probably look for a few accounts on Instagram or whatever platform of choice you have, and follow them, and then just stay informed on what's happening.
Yeah.
And the other aspect is we all have access to ChatGPT. Just try to figure out what impact does it have on the work that you perform.
Yeah.
And those conversations are fairly simple. So if you get actual, not reinforced answers that it could be beneficial, try to figure out who can help you realize that potential. Some of it requires a lot of technical knowledge, some of it doesn't. So, yeah, everybody uses it. So, the ease of access is actually the beauty. And I don't think too much can go wrong if, in that case, you get an overly optimistic answer. You know, you might find out later, okay, this isn't as good as I thought it's going to be, but still I've learned a little bit of how the future of my profession might look like later in a few years.
So it sounds like from what you're saying is embrace AI.
Yeah, no other option.
No other option.
It's here to stay.
Imagine saying 25 years ago, oh, I'm not going to use internet, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have an email. I'm going to fax forever.
Yeah, that's kind of like the German
it's a good analogy.
Today. You can still fax stuff in Germany to like insurance and the government. And
How do you envision the world in the future for with your kids?
We spoke about physical jobs being safer. I kind of think that investing into trades is becoming really attractive.
Yeah.
I kind of think that the threshold for continuing intellectual work is going to grow higher. And in a way, this just inverts a process that happened in the 90s. I remember always what one of the professors in Germany told me. They told me that they used to have 30 students per semester in physics, and now they had 400. But if they considered really the really good ones, it was five in 92, and it's still five, even though the total number of students is way higher. So what happened is
1.5%.
Yeah, what happened is that pursuing a degree looked very attractive, and in a way the threshold was lower. I kind of like to say that even though I have a PhD in physics, it really doesn't say anything about my capability, because there's like 4 orders of magnitude between physics PhDs and what they can actually do. So that threshold is going to go back up, and it's going to be more exclusive in terms of for whom does it make sense to pursue intellectual work as a career. Trades for me look very attractive. I don't know if you've had the need to pay a plumber or somebody who does tiles. That's actually something I deeply enjoy. Yeah. Like I know how to lay tiles or do plumbing or electricity. Yeah. But those are good paying jobs. There's always work for it. And then the other element is we've seen how much the world wants to be unique in some way. Yeah. Everybody pursues that special that nobody else has. Yeah. I kind of think that that's going to be become an even more dominant driver of socioeconomic activities moving forward. So world, in my mind, moves more towards uniqueness, towards non-mass-produced goods, and towards trades. So,
sounds like a beautiful world where we can all express ourselves easier without as many limitations.
Yeah. In a way, if you consider it, if you're making food with your hands to have a better quality of food, and you're not forced to do it for survival, in a way that does translate into like a better quality of life, I guess.
Of course.
And in a way, it also to some degree matches this science fiction vision of, robots are going to do the stuff that we don't like, and we're going to be doing the stuff that we actually like, in a way, to some degree. I do believe that the society and the economy are going to find some sort of a new equilibrium that to some degree matches that.
How do you think that transition happens for people that have been so ingrained in what they're doing and that ends up becoming replaced? How do you think they make a transition to find their purpose? Because obviously as human beings, me and you talked about that, right? Is purpose, we're driven by our purpose. That's what inspires us when we wake up. And without purpose, we feel lost. And when you have a mind that, has a thirst, not having purpose is a scary place to be. What do you think that transition looks like? Because that's something that I think about quite a bit, and building communities around that. That's our mission. We build communities. We help people really connect with their purpose as they go through transitions, either from exit from a company, a divorce, a death, whatever it may be. When they go through that period in their life, because I've been through a couple of different peaks and valleys, times you feel lost. And it's hard to develop a new identity and purpose. And so this is going to happen in a mass way very quickly. What advice do you have what's your view on that?
As you were speaking about it, that's actually exactly my conclusion. That's going to be a very needed skill or support.
Yeah.
Because what's really crazy is how compressed the timelines have become.
Right. It's going to be
so we're not speaking of a generational change from one generation to another. Yeah. We're speaking of something that within 5 years is going to turn things upside down.
That's actually what I'm working on right now with the platform I'm building. So I want to tap in with you, maybe after this or down the line, a couple days or something, and show you what I'm working on and get your view on it.
More than happy to see it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Before we close, I have a few of just rapid fire questions that we like to ask at the end. This can be like shorter answers. What's one belief about AI work or the future that you wish more people understood?
Nothing remains the same.
Love that. It's powerful. If this episode inspired one person to take one action, what do you hope that action is?
I would hope for educators to help kids embrace this in a constructive and meaningful way.
Yeah, that's so good. That's important.
I love that. Kids are the future.
Those are good.
How do you define Gynergy? What does that power or force mean to you in your own life?
Not taking things for granted and doing your absolute best every day. And on days where we don't achieve that, just reminding ourselves tomorrow is a new day and we get to try again to give our best.
Such beautiful perspective.
Yeah, that was a great answer.
That was a great answer.
We're gonna clip that out. We're gonna use that one quite a bit.
That was beautiful.
Wow, thank you for saying, man. I felt that emotion in my body right there.
I felt that too.
Yeah, that was good. All right, cool.
All right. Last one.
It's always like I always have a lot of nervousness when we ask that question because it's like Gynergy is like something we're building that's so important to us, and
it's our baby.
So
that was beautifully said.
Thank you.
Grateful.
Last one. What's next for you? What's the dream that you're currently building?
I'm already on this journey, so to say, in the fact that I forced myself to start learning again. So I'm grateful I found a way to grow out of complacency and then start the wheel spinning again.
Staying curious. Yeah.
Next for me is, I guess, in a way, stabilizing my methodologies in a place where I don't need to add tools or replace tools every day. And part of me isn't super optimistic that that's going to happen anytime soon.
Because it's evolving so quick.
So I don't see where the plateau is.
Yeah.
it keeps
Yeah.
shifting so quickly.
Ever evolving, right?
And it's in many ways, it's such an interesting time to be active and participate and hopefully contribute.
Such an exciting time.
Yeah.
I mean, what a better time to be alive than right now, in this moment. Because we saw before there were cell phones, before there was really internet that was at mass scale, right? Like we've been a part of this whole journey of like the evolution and growth of technology in a real way.
But it's never been intellectually more demanding to make decisions than now.
There's so much data, right? There's
20 years ago, deciding are you going to create a website or not was like,
It's like-
That was
straightforward.
yeah.
And right now,
Too many options.
put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's running a $50 million company, and they most likely don't even know
Yeah.
any single person who can help them,
They have no
let
idea.
alone make those decisions. So I'm humble enough to say, whatever problem you throw at me, I will still need to research it. And even though I'll have preconceptions
Yeah.
based on the experience and what I've seen, it's not straightforward to figure out what's the right move. So
I love that. It's like the more you learn, the more you know. It's like the more you realize there's so much that we don't know, really.
That's really.
Yeah, that's
so
so. Where can our listeners either find you or learn more about you and your work?
I keep a somewhat quiet public profile. This is very unusual for me to participate in a podcast, which might change soon. That's one of the
Yeah.
goals I've set for the next years.
Good.
But I guess the easiest way is to find me on LinkedIn, reach out. I answer pretty much every message I get. And I'm mostly here in San Diego. Very much a person who prefers doing stuff in person. So always down to get together and meet new people.
What on LinkedIn? How would they find you on LinkedIn?
I guess if you type in my first and last name, but the handle is Banjac, Banjac. So
We can also link your LinkedIn profile if you're okay with that on the episode.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Amazing.
There's a picture of me with about 60 pounds more, but I should be recognizable.
May need to get you a new headshot now.
That's actually what I was
the
told
list.
this morning. So
May need to do that.
for me, I'm planning to see a barber and then probably do new headshots. So
It's just the beginning. You're evolving into another version of you, and I'm grateful to get to really know you as a human being and the things that drive you. And I feel like there's so much more to learn, and I'm excited to expand on our friendship. I know we connected very quickly in a really deep conversation in a way that I just understood that this was worth investing more into. And you made it very clear why and who you are as a human being and the values that you have. And I appreciate you being open and vulnerable and sharing some of the stuff that you did today. And look forward to connecting with you and learning so much from you as well. Like there's just a wealth of abundance there that I want to desire to pull from. So I'm excited for that.
yeah, likewise, and same goes the other way around. I look forward to spending more time in the future together and following your amazing journey as well.
Thank you.
So
We're honored that you
thank you.
chose to spend this time with us. I know you haven't done a lot of these, so very grateful for the opportunity. It's been a joy to learn more about you, your life, and your dreams. And
Yeah, if anything, I hope somebody gets some value out of this, but I definitely appreciate the opportunity and glad to have another conversation someday in the future again.
Let's do it.
looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching and spending the time with us at this episode of the Gynergy Effect podcast. We hope that you found value. If you did and you think this would resonate with somebody, please share this, like, follow, do all those things. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
If this episode spoke to your soul,
Share it with someone you love and tag us at the Gynergy Effect. We'd love to connect.
And remember, your energy is your power. Use it with intention.